In the world of electrified cars, there is one name that never fails to get mentioned: Tesla. And you know why? Because the cars, the company, are revolutionary. Okay, agreed, they're not perfect, but it's been amazing to see what they have achieved in just a decade of existence. And let's be honest, you know you've hit a nerve when every new car is gunning for your crown. Take this Model 3 Performance. It's fast, it's slick, and it's the car to beat in its niche.
And yet everyone else is catching up and catching on. This is the Polestar 2. Backed by the corporate might of parent company Volvo, the 2 is aiming for the 3's #1 position, which can mean only one thing: fight! But before we get the gloves on and Nicki gives me a black eye again, please do log on to electrifying.com, where you will find loads of videos and tips and tricks and explainers to help you navigate your way through the world of electrified vehicles. If you don't, then we have to go back to our old jobs, and Nicki was a biological scientist and a hand model for gardening gloves.
Only one of those statements is true, and Wookie was... Actually, you don't want to know what Wookie was doing.
Moving on.
Okay, so first, subjective initial reaction. Which do you prefer the look of?
Well, I'm immediately going to say the Polestar 2. I know some of that is because it's new, and some of it's because I quite like the raised stance, and weirdly, some of it is because bits of it remind me of an old Saab, but I have to say I'm quite used to the Tesla shape, and to me it's a little bit bland. It's not terrible, it's just a bit soap bar-y.
I was agreeing with the first part of that sentence. I do love the fresh new look that the Polestar brings, but bland? Come on. I mean, this is cool. It's innovation, it's minimalism. It speaks technology. I don't think it's bland, Wookie.
Yeah, look, I get your point, but they are broadly a similar size, and they both seat 5 people quite comfortably, and they are very practical. Apart from the fact that the Polestar 2 is more practical because it has a hatchback. Ta-da!
Okay, so you might win on accessibility, but would you believe this actually has more boot space, despite the fact that it is the saloon car boot? And the front is actually useful, unlike this.
And the Polestar 2 may be a 5-seater, but this big hump in the middle makes it slightly less comfortable for rear passengers because the Tesla has a completely flat floor.
It gets worse, you know.
Uh-oh.
Let's do a quick run through. The Tesla Model 3 Performance is more powerful, faster, lighter, and it's more efficient than the Polestar 2. This 3 Performance gets a 75 kilowatt-hour battery and squeezes 444 brake horsepower from a pair of motors that give 4-wheel drive. That means the usual Tesla party trick of jaw-dropping acceleration. There is no ludicrous mode here, but you don't need it. I mean, should we just do a quick demonstration? Oh, I will never tire of that. It's mind-blowing. It's ridiculous. Anyway, where were we? Range for this car is around 330 miles, and the Performance gets lowered suspension, 20-inch wheels, upgraded brakes, and specially developed Michelin tyres. So it's pretty spectacular to drive. It's not an out-and-out sports car, but stick it in track mode and I defy you not to be impressed. There's also a longer range version, which is a better comparison with the Polestar we have today. It's called the long range, which isn't quite as fast, but goes a smidgen more on charge and is more in line with price. And as with any Tesla, you get access to the supercharger network, which is huge if you do a lot of miles. That's around 50 locations spread around the UK. Each typically has half a dozen to a dozen charging points, plus around 500 destination chargers at other private venues. You can also use any other charge point with the supplied cable. The best bit, well, Tesla quote 150 miles of range in just 30 minutes if you're on a supercharger, or 37 miles an hour of recharge if you're on a dedicated home unit. So, beat that, Mr. Wookie.
Unfortunately, Nicki isn't wrong. The P2 might be able to charge from 10 to 80% on a rapid charger in about 30 minutes, but they aren't as convenient as Tesla's superchargers. It's about average otherwise. Empty to full takes about 11 hours on a standard home charger, slightly slower than the Tesla. And the Polestar might make 402 brake horsepower and also have a pair of electric motors to give it 4-wheel drive. it's not quite as efficient as the Tesla, mainly because the platform that this car sits on also underpins a lot of other Volvos like the XC40, which means that it's actually been designed to also take a petrol or diesel engine. Now, doing that means that this whole platform is essentially a bit fat. Yes, it's quite porky. It's 276 kilograms heavier than the Model 3, which I make out to be about 2 Wookiees or 4 Nickies.
Now, here is a fact for you. You could put me in a classic Mini on the roof of a BMW i3, and still, all together, we would be lighter than the Polestar.
That means it's not as efficient as the Tesla because it's got a lot more weight to move around. You only get a 294 mile range from a slightly bigger 78 kilowatt hour battery, and the 0 to 62 time, well, that drops to just under 5 seconds. It's by no means slow, but it's quite a way behind that Model 3.
You're not kidding. The Model 3 does 163 miles per hour. Your top speed is paltry at 127 miles per hour. You're going to find yourself being overtaken by VW Polos on the Autobahn if you ever went to Germany.
Yes, Nicki, but is it better? The Polestar might not be quite as fast as your Model 3, but it does really handle very neatly indeed. You can also get this thing called the Performance Pack as an option for about £5,000, which comes with 20-way adjustable Öhlins dampers, better brakes and gold seatbelts. Though I'm not actually totally sure what the point of those are on a car like this. The standard car, this one, is a little bit better riding and much more comfortable, and I actually prefer it. Do you know what though? This does feel like a properly resolved and grown up first go at a full-on electric car. It rides nicely enough, it handles really well. I'm impressed.
Okay, so we're agreed that the Tesla is better when it comes to speed, range, charging, all the moving stuff.
Objection, Your Honour.
But the Polestar does have one pretty awesome trick up its sleeve.
Go on, what's that?
The interior.
Yeah, but before we get to that, that Tesla is still pretty amazing. It's properly space age, just look at it. It's got that 15-inch touchscreen that controls pretty much all of the functions. The dash is just one big slab, there's not even any dials in front of you. It's got that really kind of futuristic vibe that you don't see anywhere else. I know, when you first get into them, they're a bit confusing, aren't they? You have to spend some time setting it up exactly how you want it.
Yeah, a little bit overwhelming, but maybe worth the investment. However, look at the Polestar, the interior. I mean, that is like a piece of well-designed furniture. It is beautiful. You can tell that the designers have spent a lot of time focusing on the style of it. And I would say it's not space age, which I quite like, but it's still contemporary, it's stylish, which I'm sure you know a lot about, Wookie. I also love the colours that they've used, the different textures. So in that instance, the Polestar wins when it comes to the interior.
Do you know what else this has got?
What?
And it's a biggie. It's got Android baked in as an operating system. So that's basically Google in your car, which means that you get all of the good stuff. You can use Google Assistant, you can have Google Maps, but you can also get things like YouTube and Spotify. It's all on board. It just makes it super, super convenient. Do you know the best bit?
What?
You can get Netflix in this car, which means you can have Netflix and charge rather than Netflix and chill.
Oh God. But let's not forget, Tesla is still packed full of entertainment. However, I would also say that the onboard experience is maybe a tiny bit better in the Polestar. It's convenient, it's much more intuitive. It feels sort of less out there than this does maybe.
Gotcha.
However, a man of your stature, have you not noticed how claustrophobic it is in the Polestar?
Yeah, it is a little bit.
You've got quite small windows, whereas this, it's light, it's airy, and I have a huge panoramic window.
They've both got their good points. Call it a draw?
Go on then. The strange thing for me is that the Polestar actually feels like a car from a settled old school manufacturer, which actually it is, given that Volvo is the daddy corporation. It's resolved and beautifully made, but I think it might date. Tesla has a functional tech feel about it, which seems a bit more timeless to me.
If I'm being honest, I think I'd just buy that because I prefer the way it looks both inside and out.
I completely understand what you're saying, but I disagree. Mainly because how are you going to feel when the Polestar needs charging sooner because it can't go as far on a single charge? And you drive past a lovely line of Tesla superchargers and then you're heading to the one public charging station, which, let's be honest, given the unreliability issues with it at the moment, is probably going to be broken or used by somebody else.
Yeah, that's true. But then again, it's one of those things where that car just appeals to me on a completely different level. It's a brilliant, confident attempt, and it's a first attempt, don't forget, at a pure electric vehicle from Polestar. The problem it's got is the fact that the Model 3 was so far ahead of the game in the first place that it's already got an advantage. It's a massively hard call, but someone has to make it, and Nicki Shields, I nominate you.
Okay, I'm going to make this call, and I'm going to go with the Tesla Model 3 beating the Polestar 2 because, from a very personal perspective, I don't have access to home charging, so I am reliant on the public charging network, and Tesla have nailed it with their supercharger network. Having this takes all the worry and stress out of owning an electric car because I can be 100% reliant on the charging network.
So there you go. 3 for you, 2 for me. I'm always in second place.
Get used to it.
If you want to see specific videos on either of these cars, then please do head over to our YouTube channel and also electrifying.com for more info. It might help you decide which one you like best, because frankly, we can't.